Maestro, and I'm here with the one and only Eddie Hearn. Before we talk about this fight, Eddie, I would like you to talk about your thoughts on Quebec boxing, because we're here in Quebec City. There is history between UK fighters and Quebec fighters. I was actually live for Carl Frosch's fight with Jean Pascal. Carl Frosch also fought Lucien Boutte back in the day. So we got a little bit of a rivalry, Quebec and England to a certain extent. Talk to me about your opinion about the Quebec boxing scene.
Yeah, I mean, I was here 10 years ago for Tony Bellew against Adonis Stevenson. Didn't go our way that night, but you know, on Saturday I believe it will. You know, I think there's a big thriving boxing market in Canada. Quebec is an interesting place. It's very cold, but as we see, there's 10,000 at the Videotron on Saturday, and it'll be a great atmosphere. So, you know, I think any time that we can bring big-time boxing to new cities or existing cities that don't necessarily get many big-time events, you always feel the excitement, and we'll feel it here on Saturday.
You've done shows in Australia, you've done shows in Monaco, I believe you've done shows in Spain, definitely
Italy,
Mexico,
yeah.
England, of course. Any opportunities here that you might see working with the
maybe.
local promoters and maybe
maybe.
Montreal, the bigger city here in
Yeah,
Quebec?
I mean, you know, we know the Eye of the Tiger guys. I think they're doing a great job. Good bunch of people, and you know, I think that with our platform with DAZN, which is obviously a global platform, there's opportunities around the world. So you just need, you know, whenever you go to a new territory, you need that standout talent. You need the guys and girls that can headline those shows, and there's plenty of talent in Canada for sure.
Quickly turning now to this main event, you're obviously backing a Callum Smith here. He's got a strong punch, elite level boxer, technician. He had that one outing against Canelo that didn't quite go his way. Any learning lessons you think there from Callum going into this fight?
Yeah,
because that was the last
I think
big fight.
The main thing about the Canelo fight, one is gaining that experience against a superstar of the sport, pound for pound number one at the time. But also it was down at 168 pounds. He wasn't the same person physically, you know, and he's much stronger at 175. In fact, I think he's a bigger one-punch knockout puncher than Artur Beterbiev. Beterbiev has very heavy hands. He has a tremendous work rate. But I think Callum is a crafty puncher, and he hits very hard, especially at 175 pounds. So, you know, I do think it's a 50-50 fight. But Callum is well in it. You know, sometimes when you come to a fight and you're an away fighter, you just look at ways, how do you really see him winning? I see him winning, and I see him winning this fight by knockout.
Very interesting, the UK, when it comes to light heavyweights. You got a lot of big names. Some of them you've worked with in the past. Talking about Buatsi, you've got Callum Smith, you've got Anthony Yard, you've got Dan Aziz. I went on the record last year and I said that I felt Callum Smith was the top 175 pounder. We saw what he did to Lenin Castillo in his first fight. We saw what he did in his second fight. Where do you rank him amongst the light heavyweights?
I do rate Anthony Yard as well, you know, and you saw him. You know, he gave Beterbiev a very tough fight last time out, you know, and we hope that fight will have an effect on Beterbiev in this fight as well. But I think, you know, I think it's really Bivol, Smith, Beterbiev, Yard. I think they're the top four. Buatsi's a talented fighter as well, just hasn't had the momentum. And it's a fight, you know, Aziz has never really proved himself at world level, but if he was to beat Buatsi, you know, maybe you can start bringing him there. But there isn't a huge amount of depth at 175 pounds. We've seen, you know, it's very difficult to find opponents. Like when Bivol boxed last week in Saudi Arabia, he boxed Lyndon Arthur, who's a good fighter, but it was, you know, he didn't really win a round against him. So, you know, those guys stand tall in a division.
Any roadblocks remaining with the WBC allowing Dimitri Bivol to unify with their title? Because there was that issue.
I think, I think that still has to be approved by Maurizio. It's very difficult when you know these guys. Like Dimitri Bivol is probably the most peaceful guy going, and just because someone in his country has made a decision that he probably doesn't agree with, is it fair that his dreams and legacy should be punished? I get you might want to punish the country, but I find it unfair to punish an individual. But it's because I know Dimitri Bivol, and I just can't understand why he should be punished. You know, he's from Dagestan, he lives in Los Angeles, so hopefully, you know, he will get his shot at the WBC World Title as well.
Looking at the fights taking place in February and March, we're talking obviously about the heavyweight division, Riyadh season. Following the loss to Ngannou, I actually felt it was good for Ngannou and good for Fury because I felt it created some openings there. Ngannou now has a huge fight against AJ. Should AJ get through that, he'll have two guys on his record that, looking towards a Fury fight, he could say he improved on Fury's performances against them. Is that something that you guys are targeting later on, a fight with Fury if AJ comes through this?
We've always wanted the Fury fight. And also, I think it's the fight. I think if AJ knocks out Ngannou and Fury beats Usyk, that's the biggest fight of all time. Those two for the Undisputed Championship. And I think there'll be a huge demand to make that fight very quickly. So, yeah, one of the reasons we took the Wilding fight is we believe we could do much better than Tyson Fury did against Wilding. I felt like Wilding was very unlucky that fight wasn't stopped against Fury, and AJ Wilding was a mismatch. And I hope that AJ Ngannou is a mismatch as well. And if it is, the fans will really start believing, like I have for a long time, that AJ beats Tyson Fury. But, as much as I love Alexander Usyk, I do hope that Tyson can get the win on February the 17th and set up that potential clash.
Last one for me, Eddie. I wanted to ask you about Devin Haney. He's had some of his best wins fighting as a Matchroom fighter. He obviously had a good win recently against Regis Prograis. There were talks about him fighting Ryan Garcia. I don't quite know what's happening with that fight. We saw Ryan going back and forth with Oscar about their future plans. What are your thoughts on Ryan Garcia's situation? And is that fight with Devin Haney, something that you can work towards?
Yeah, he changed his mind very quickly. I mean, he sent me a message saying, I just want you to know I'm fighting Devin Haney next. That's the fight that I want. And I was a bit shocked, and I was pleasantly surprised that you got a guy there who's really chasing legacy. It's a great fight for the sport, and I really took my hat off to him. He had a little run with Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather obviously said to him, "What are you doing? Fight the easy fight against Rolling." Yeah. And I don't criticise Ryan Garcia's decision because it's a business decision, but unfortunately it's not the fight that boxing wants, which, the fight that boxing wants is Devin Haney against Ryan Garcia. So, yeah, he probably made a smart decision, but maybe thought with his brain rather than his heart in that one.
Thank you very much, Eddie. I appreciate your time. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.